Hey everybody, my name is Andrew Davidson. I make content about board games, card games, and everything in between. If this is your first time at As Per My Ability, hello, greetings, welcome. I'd like to invite everyone to consider doing all the fun YouTube stuff. Comment, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you get notifications when new videos do come out. We appreciate everything that everyone does to help the channel grow. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about 8 games whose titles nailed it. What do I mean by nailed it? Well, I basically thought of what would be a board game that I could say just the title to my grandmother or someone who's not a gamer at all, and they would have a pretty good understanding of what the theme or the objective of the game is. Now, I know there's a million, bazillion, gazillion games out there that could fit this list. However, I pulled games off of my shelf. These are just 8 games that when I looked at my collection, I just kind of, oh, that one's good, that one's good. So this is incredibly limited to what I have, and it's also limited to my opinion. 2 caveats before I get started. The first one is I stayed completely away from Civilization games because most of them are pretty on the nose. Civilization, Civilization: A New Dawn, Tapestry, a Civilization game, Age of Civilization. I just decided to not even do Civilization games. Caveat number 2 is that I stayed completely away from intellectual property games or IP games for obvious reasons. You buy a Dune game, it's called Dune. You're getting a Dune game. You buy anything with Lord of the Rings on it, you're gonna have a Lord of the Rings game. Need I go on? Okay then, with all of that out of the way, we're going to hit the sweet intro and come on back, and I've got my games all set up. I'm going to give you 8 games from my shelf that I think the title nails it. Welcome back everybody to the program. Thank you for spending time with me. Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully you enjoy my list. I know it's incredibly limited because again, I decided not to scour the internet. I completely went off of what I have on my shelf. I have 8 games pulled aside. I'm just gonna go through them in really no particular order. These are all games that, again, I think the title just gives the whole game away, which is a good thing, can be a good thing. Since I'm not doing these in any particular order at all, in any fashion, I decided to get the first 2 groaners out of the way because anyone that's a really heavy gamer is probably gonna roll their eyes and go, oh, great choice, Davidson, great choice. That was sarcasm if that didn't come across. Number 1 I have in my hand is Pandemic. Yes, Pandemic. Considering the entire world just went through a global pandemic a couple of years ago, I figured this has got to be on the list. You take the name, you want to play a game called Pandemic, and people are going to know, especially because of what's happened in recent history, they're going to know what that game is probably about. They're probably going to think it's about COVID, actually, but they'll have a good idea, and that's really what this list is about. So I'm just going to keep moving along, get the groaner out of the way, Pandemic. Number 2 is also a groaner, like I said, and it is Secret Hitler. Oh, there's the... Now, Secret Hitler, while you might say, do you want to play Secret Hitler to someone who has no idea what it is or about, I still think fundamentally the core mechanics of the game is you have someone at the table who's Hitler, and it's a secret. I think they kind of nailed it. You know that it's going to be having something to do with Hitler and secrets involved. This is kind of a groaner because this is just the ultimate party game that people play, and so we're just going to get that one out of the way. But I did see it on my shelf and go, Secret Hitler? What else would you call this? Maybe leave a comment. Like, if you were to take this game and rename it, what would you name it? I just thought Secret Hitler really nails it. Number 3 is a little cutesy game by Rebel Games, and it is called Dream Home. Now, Dream Home is a game, it's a card drafting game where the cards that you draft is basically making your dream home. So if I showed you this and I just showed you the cover and said, again, you know, this is Dream Home, you'd kind of have an idea of you're building a home or you're making something about your dream home. I mean, you could kind of put it together if you'd never played this game or heard anything about it just from the title. And so that's why Dream Home made my list. This is a really, really cute game, and it's also a very good family game as far as the complexity and the weight. There's a couple of wonky things as far as how cards get constructed to build the house, but it's totally fun. It's a drafting game. Dream Home. Getting into number 4 is going to reveal probably one of my favorite games that I played in 2021 of last year, and that game is Parks. Parks is by Keymaster Games. They also have another game out called Caper. That one didn't hit the list. You won't be seeing that one. But Parks plays 1 to 5. And in Parks, you are trying to visit national parks. Now, maybe I'm a little subjective because I've played the game. So I think, yeah, I've played the game. Therefore, the title makes sense. But I chose it anyways because I really just wanted to show off this game. This is a really pretty, very easy to learn, absolutely stunning, fun game. If you like outdoorsy stuff, if you like to learn a little bit about, because all the parks are realistic ones in America, and yeah, it's got a little bit of strategy to it. I'd say it's probably around a Ticket to Ride weight, but maybe with a little kick in the pants as far as some of the cards that you can play and some actions that you can take. So if I brought out Parks and showed it and just said, do you want to play Parks? Maybe I'm being a little too subjective, but I think a savvy enough person could put it together and at least think it has something to do with national parks. Hopefully people think of national parks and not the crummy rundown community park down the street with the seesaw that creaks as loud as all get out and has rust all over it and has not been kept up since the Reagan administration. I don't know. Maybe you can let me know with a comment. What would you think of Parks if you've not played it? Number 5 and forward, we're going to be getting into some meat of games. The next one I have is just the expansion. I didn't pull the base game off. I do have the base game, but whatever. Number 5 is Western Legends. So in Western Legends, you are playing in the West, and you're playing as a legendary character from the Western time period in America. This one is just, can I say anything more? Western Legends. For number 6, I have an alternate iteration of the game because my base game I didn't want to pull out and try to force on camera. So instead I picked Ares Expedition or Terraforming Mars, at least to show off on camera. But my actual pick would be Terraforming Mars, the board game. In Terraforming Mars, you are doing exactly what the title says. You are terraforming, which is making the planet livable, inhabitable, Mars. You're doing that to Mars. You're increasing the oxygen, you're making water on the planet, and you're also increasing the temperature so that life can be sustained. Therefore, you can grow plants and people can live on Mars. This was also an early pick for me, Terraforming Mars. I just feel like that title brings out exactly what the theme is and what you're doing in that game. This is basically the card game version of Terraforming Mars, which is also a highly recommended game from me and a lot of people. I really enjoy this one because it's not quite as long. It's based mostly on cards, although there's a tiny board involved with it. But yeah, anything that's Terraforming Mars, I thought that's a pretty great game. My number 7 is cheating just a smidge. I know I would stay away from intellectual property. Number 7 is based upon a book by Robert Louis Stevenson called Robinson Crusoe. and the board game is called Robinson Crusoe. So if you could forgive me for cheating a little bit, I don't think this one is nearly as bad as selecting, you know, let's say Marvel Legendary or something like that. In Robinson Crusoe, you are doing exactly, if you know anything about the novel, you are basically on an island trying to survive, trying to explore. It's hard to sum this game up because there are numerous scenarios for it, and each scenario adds a different feel and a different flavor as far as your objectives and what you're supposed to be doing in the game. But overall, when I say Robinson Crusoe, people, if they've heard that name at all, they kind of think of an island, stuck on an island. This is actually kind of like Lost, the board game. And there's even a Lost scenario that is a print and play out there if you happen to be a super fan like me of that ancient and archaic, now completely defunct TV show. So my number 7 is a bit of a cheat based on the book, Robinson Crusoe. The other one that was on my list for this was This War of Mine, but when I say This War of Mine, that doesn't, it makes you think of a war game when it's actually not. So I went with this one instead. However, I would probably prefer This War of Mine over Robinson Crusoe, but this title nails it. This War of Mine doesn't quite nail it. Number 8, and my final selection for this video at least, is one of my top 3 favorite games of all time, at least at the moment of recording this, is a game called Viticulture. Viticulture is a great game. It's a worker placement game. I'm being incredibly subjective here because it was the first worker placement game that I played that actually was really interesting. I played some others, but this one was really caught my eye. I played this probably every weekend for like a year straight. And I probably only won 1 out of 52 games, but let's move on from that. Viticulture is basically the process of making wine. In viticulture, you're making wine. You're running a vineyard. You're trying to create different types of wine, champagne, red wine, white wine, in fulfilling orders that people want to order from you. By doing that, it gives you a little bit of prestige. It gives you a little bit of points. This is a competitive worker placement game. This, like I said, this game is a beloved child of mine that I really enjoy, and I know a lot of gamers out there in the community also really enjoy Viticulture. So those are 8 games that I just very quickly pulled from my shelf that I thought, man, that title really nails it. Obviously, feel free to comment below and let me know some of your picks for game titles that really nail the theme. When you say the title to someone who is unfamiliar with the game, they already kind of would have an idea of, okay, I have an idea that that has to deal with making wine or something in the Wild West, etc., etc. So that's everything from me today. Once again, my name is Andrew Davidson. You've been watching As Per My Ability, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of you at the next video. Take care.